Welcome to week 2 of the Writers Room with O'Colly TV. I'm your host, Tessa Durrell, and today I'm joined by some of O'Colly's very own writers, Braden Bush and Daniel Allen. So how about you guys give me a little bit of a background about yourselves? Just tell me what it's like being a student here at OSU.
Yeah, great to be here, Tessa. My first time, but I'm Braden Bush. I am a junior sports media major here at Oklahoma State. Cover wrestling, baseball, football, but yeah, this is my first year here at the O'Colly.
Yeah, thanks for having me first off. I'm Daniel. I'm a sophomore student here at Oklahoma State, majoring in sports media. I've done baseball, I've done wrestling, I do soccer now and help out with some football. It's a fun time. You get to do a lot of stuff, and I'm really looking forward to what lies ahead.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are both super involved with the O'Colly, or else we wouldn't have you here, of course. So how about you tell me just a little bit about your background specifically with the O'Colly?
Yeah, so I just got to Oklahoma State here in January. Walked in first day of class, walked into the O'Colly. So I've just been here, 9 months now? But it's been great. Got my foot in the door, put on wrestling, then to baseball. Now here we are, track, soccer, football, all the fall sports.
Awesome.
Yeah, I kind of came in as a raw student, nervous, not sure what to do in August of 21. Someone told me to reach out to our advisor John Helsley. I did. He got me hooked up immediately. Got put on some wrestling, learned under there, and then got put on baseball, and I loved every bit of it. Worked with Brayton a little bit, and it was an adventure, but it was pretty fun.
Work with him a lot.
Work with him a lot, so you guys are like best friends at this point, right?
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
guess you could say that.
Yeah, you guess. Okay. So, sounds like you've done a lot with the O'Colly, and what has been the most interesting or the most memorable piece that you've done for the O'Colly in this short time that you've been here?
For me, I've got a couple. It's kind of not a major sport, but an Oklahoma State rodeo story. I wrote one about Lariat Larner, an assistant coach who died in a car wreck last season. And so as the women's team made it to the national finals, I wrote a little piece on how they were carrying her with them to Wyoming for the finals. So that was an interesting piece, a sport that doesn't get a lot of coverage, but it was nice to talk to them and kind of share that story. And then a 9/11 piece, Constantino Borelli, his parents called him their 9/11 baby. They grew up in Brooklyn. They could see the towers from there, and she was pregnant with Constantino at that time. Constantino's now a linebacker for the Cowboy football team. But that was also an interesting story to see how they dealt with that.
That's so cool.
There's a couple. Probably my favorite one was getting to know he's with the Padres right now, but Griffin Dorsing was a first baseman last year. Such an outgoing personality.
Yes, definitely.
I remember going to BYU, or not to BYU, but to Arlington for the BYU series, and obviously, a 60,000 seat stadium. You hear a lot more than 30 or 10,000 seat stadium that's not nearly sold out. So you heard all the chanting back and forth from the dugout to the bullpen, and I asked later in the season, who is that, and everyone said, oh, that's Griffin and Solomon Wright, or Washington rather, leading back and forth chants, and just getting to know him, his dad, their love for tattoos, displaying American culture and through Japanese culture on their on their bodies through art. It was fun to get to know him. And then another one that I just did on Gracie Beinbeutel, true freshman goalkeeper. How her relationship with her brother, she didn't want to do soccer the whole time. She wanted to do other sports growing up, but she basically shadowed her brother growing up, and got obviously tight-knit relationship growing up, and she got to finally see him again this past weekend in an upset win over Brown for Cowgirls soccer team, and that was a pretty getting to know that whole family. That was pretty fun too.
That's so cool. That's awesome. So here in this last minute or so, if you were to pitch to someone to convince them to write for the O'Colly, what is one thing you would tell them?
I'd say you're not going to find any better on-hands experience than the O'Colly, across any degree. You can walk in day one and get a byline. You'll get thrown on major sports, football, basketball, soccer. There's just really not another opportunity like it. You learn a lot.
I can't say anything other different than what Braden said. I've not much journalistic experience coming in. Got thrown on wrestling, a big time sport at Oklahoma State. Braden did as well. Other sports media programs, I know, seniority is an issue. O'Colly doesn't look at that. They'll throw you on a major sport immediately and get you experience, and experience is the best way to go in this field. I think if you can get as many early reps as possible, that benefits you drastically moving forward. And it's definitely done it for me, and I know Braden as well.
And y'all are so young too. I can't imagine how much this is going to help you going into the future and stuff like that. So. Right. That is all we have for this first segment, but make sure to stay with us in the writer's room for our next segment. We're going to take a look at some of Braden's work with cross country and both of their works with soccer as well. So make sure to stay with us in the writer's room.
My name is James Ramidi. Fired Up Stilley is the name of the business, and I'm one of the owners. We all three met, the three owners, working as employees at a similar place like this. What I hope for is for everybody to feel welcome, like family. Not only do I want students to feel welcome to come here and study and use our free Wi-Fi, but also I want adults and families to be able to come in. We've built a connection with a lot of people, and Stillwater's a big community, so we just want to invite everybody to be able to eventually make their way through our doors. Well, definitely the tees, I would say. Most people fall in love with them. They just got a great amount of energy, gets you going through your day, and it just kickstarts you to get everything you need to done. For myself, it would just have to be being the owner, owning something that is able to impact other people's lives, and the way we can affect our community is something that I really have always wanted to do. We love our clients and our customers that come through every day, and we enjoy getting to know them.
Well, how I got started was my daughter said, "Mama, why don't we rent a booth at the Quarter Horse Show?" And it was very, very good because, when you're giving your jelly away for free, people really do love it. But when you ask them to pay for it, then that's a true test. What makes my product so unique is the Scotch bonnet pepper. And the Scotch bonnet is the Jamaican pepper. And I had lived in Montego Bay, Jamaica for 4 years, so I learned how to handle the pepper and how to cook with it. I always say, you don't do this on your own. I mean, you have so many people that help you along the way. For me, and for many of us, that's my name on that jar, and it better be good.
We are back in the writer's room here with Braden and Daniel, and right now we're going to take a look at some of Braden's work with cross country. So Braden, just tell me a little bit about your background with cross country. What are some of your favorite parts of working with them?
Well, coming in, no background really. Kind of the theme with the O'Colly, you get thrown in there, but you learn quickly. So first year on the cross country beat, but it's been cool getting to know them guys. It's a sport that doesn't get as much coverage as maybe football, especially this time of year. It gets overshadowed. But they're very talkative, and we talked to them yesterday. The men's cross-country team, second in the country, women's third in the new rankings. They have the Cowboy preview behind them, a chance to get some inexperienced runners in, and now they have the Cowboy Jamboree coming up this Saturday, kind of first real meet. They have a bunch of people coming in. I think there's like 8 of the top 10 in the men's, 10 ranked women's teams, because this is also the home of the 2022 Cross Country National Championships, so everybody's kind of coming in to get a preview. But yeah, both the men's and women's teams are pretty stacked this year.
Yeah. So have you gotten to travel with the cross country team much?
I have not.
You have not?
No, I have not. I'd like to. Probably be at this first meet Saturday, and hopefully get to go some of the road ones. Yeah.
So how do you think our cross country trail and like our atmosphere compares to other ones?
It's a beautiful course, It's different from other sports because for spectators, you can't watch across all the, like you kind of have different spots that fans can go to and watch. But it is really unique, I mean, it's beautiful. It's close to campus, lots of rolling hills, and I mean, just like this Saturday, they run at 8 a.m., it's kind of a different environment, it's kind of cool, pretty part of the day. But it's definitely different, but a pretty relaxing and enjoyable environment.
Yeah, so both of you guys, though, have wrote for another fall sport, soccer. So which atmosphere is more fun to write for? Is it cross country, do you think, or soccer?
I don't think I can answer that. I think that's a Braden question.
All Braden?
I mean, They're both different in their own way. Soccer, I mean, Neil Patterson Stadium, it's beautiful. It's one of the premier college soccer stadiums.
Without a doubt.
And they've been drawing great crowds, honestly. I might have to go soccer.
Really?
Yeah, I
Soccer?
might have to go soccer.
I mean, for honestly, because O'Colly's really the only news outlet that covers soccer. So, for a major sport that doesn't get that much coverage, it's delighting to see these girls who put in constant hard work day in and day out. Get some attention from the student section. It's always interesting to see whenever someone scores a goal, the Orange Outlaws pop out those orange fireworks, that orange smoke. It's and then as Braden said, they've been drawing, I don't want to say record attendance, but some of the top attendance they've had since Neil Patterson was built. So it's been a fun ride so far. Obviously, early on, Bedlam was supposed to be close to sold out, but that got canceled. That would have been a fun atmosphere to cover.
Yeah, I know it.
But otherwise, it's been a fun ride so far. It really has. Looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah. So you said that you're one of the few outlets that gets to cover soccer.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think there's an added responsibility with that? Like maybe for the girls who play, do you think that makes it a little tougher to write for soccer since you are one of the few outlets for that?
Well, they, we've been told and we've found out they read every bit of our stuff that we write. So as heartwarming as that can be, sometimes it can also be kind of stressful because what if I write this? What if this upsets someone? But all in all, I don't know if it necessarily provides an extra responsibility, but I think it just makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Because you're the primary outlet covering these girls. Again, college soccer is a major sport, not one of the big money making ones, but it's a major sport. It's one of the big time sports in college sports, and it's fun. It's fun, like I said.
Yeah. So that's all the time we have for this segment here. But if you want to see more of Braden and Daniel's work with soccer or Braden's work with cross country, definitely go check it out on ocolly.com to see more of their work. So make sure to stay with us in the writer's room for our next segment with Braden and Daniel.
Hi, I'm Shauna here at Where the Buffalo Roam in beautiful downtown Pawnee, Oklahoma. We have a lot of beautiful and unique items for sale in the store, but our number one items are Navajo jewelry, Pendleton blankets, and Consuela. It's a great place to shop, a beautiful downtown, so come see us in Pawnee, Oklahoma.
Pecans are staple to Oklahoma. In fact, many of our native pecans come from trees that are older than Oklahoma statehood.
My father's the one that got us started into the pecan picking. I was probably 10 or 12 years old, and we started off with one little mechanical picker that you pulled behind a four-wheeler. Then we'd go home at night and we'd clean them on a TV tray. I guess watching my dad work hard when we were young and people started trusting him and getting more and more groves, we just kept growing.
Being a relatively new and fresh company, we get to sit in the same room with people who have been a part of the Oklahoma economy for decades.
It's opened a lot of doors. It's gave us quite a bit of exposure, and I think people, will take a small company like us a little more serious. We're just going to continue growing as long as our community lets us and our customers keep on buying, and we'll see where it takes us.
I'm back with Braden and Daniel in the writer's room, and I am so excited for this next segment because we're going to take a look at some of OSU's most famous game day traditions. So Daniel, you just recently wrote a piece about the paddle people of Oklahoma State. So could you maybe give me a little bit of a rundown or give me a summary of what that piece was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fun getting to, go out after a game, before a game, get to talk with all the people that make, one of OSU's most iconic football traditions happen. Basically, they'll meet the Sunday before game day. They'll have a meeting. They'll get the rundown, the itinerary of everything, and then night before they go out and literally camp out at the stadium to get passes from the I think it's the university security department and then like I said, they'll get wristbands, they'll get passes, and then they get like 2 to 3 hours before the game they get entrance. And obviously everyone knows what the paddle people do, so it was just a fun piece all around, to get to know those people, get to see more in-depth look at them, and then see what makes how one of OSU's more iconic traditions is made possible.
Yeah, and I read that piece and I thought it was so interesting because the way you were talking about it is they are there every time I get there, no matter how early I am. They're always there before me, and they're like out in the sun, out in the heat, and doing all of these crazy things for the team. So what do you think is the biggest addition that they bring to the football games and to the atmosphere at Oklahoma State football games? Well,
I mean, I just noise in general. I think, as players have said when I've asked about it, as fans have said, as some I guess high school coaches, whenever they're on visits with recruits, whenever I talk to them about those stories, it's just a hectic, and the word rowdy was used, as cliche as that may sound. It provides a unique atmosphere, but a noisy atmosphere for opposing teams. And one of the paddle people said Lincoln Riley absolutely despised them when he was at OU. Sent a complaint into the Big 12 about it. Another one said Matt Rule when he was at Baylor hated him. So obviously, when you're doing your job, obviously that'll happen. But I think it was a fun piece. It was a fun piece to do and get to know those people, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I loved reading that piece about the paddle people, and I just love how Oklahoma State has so many of these awesome traditions that stand out against Big 12 schools and schools nationally.
Right.
So what do you think is your favorite tradition? Both of you guys can kind of tell me your most favorite tradition that we have at Oklahoma State.
I'm a little biased, but I like Bullet. I spent 2 seasons on the Spirit team with Bullet, so I got to take care of him, help do all that, run around on game days, take pictures, do special events. So that was a really cool experience. I grew up around it. My dad was part of the people that helped get it started back, and so I grew up around Bullet. So to be on it was really cool. So I'm a little biased, but I mean, there's a lot of people that go to football games and they don't even care as much about the football game. There's little kids, they like to see Bullet,
Bullet and
they love to hear
BB.
Larry Reese say, "Here comes Bullet,"
Yeah.
So I think that's a really neat tradition.
This one's pretty bland, but I like the walk. I don't know, getting to see kids, obviously go out and see players they look up to. They watch OSU on, Saturday every weekend. They'll, finally get to see those guys in person, see Coach Gundy in person. And you see their reactions whenever they're doing that. I know one of our sports editor did a story on the walk, and he detailed that a little bit. It's pretty cool to get to see little kids, get that experience, get to see the players in person, get to see the coaches in person, and kind of see their idols on TV, I guess, in a way, in person.
Yeah. So in this last minute we have here, if there's one tradition that you guys think on game days you want people to see if you brought to a game, what would it be?
Go ahead, Julian.
Ooh, that's a tough question. I'd probably have to go with Bullet. I can't really explain why. I just have to go with Bullet. I really can't explain why.
Yeah, I mean, I was already on my soapbox. I think it's pretty cool. You got the band out there, it splits, Bullet comes down. That seems like a pretty iconic piece of cowboy football.
Yes,
I
of
think.
course. I love our
Part of
chant
pregame.
too. It's always fun to be in the student section with the single chant that we're OSU, OSU. That's my
Exactly.
favorite thing since freshman year.
I'm with you.
So that's all the time we have for this segment here. And coming up on our next segment, we're going to take a look at our game against the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff last week on Saturday. So make sure to stay with us in the writers' room.
I'm Kristen Hawkins. I went to Oklahoma State University here in Stillwater in '99 to 2004. I've always felt like Stillwater needed more family-friendly things to do, and we have opened up AR Workshop. We do everything from knitting blankets that can be done in a 3-hour class, and we create doormats and porch signs, the Christmas wreaths with our yarn that we use for the blankets. We also do, we just started a new project for gnomes, and we've done pumpkins during the fall, but our big thing that we do here are interior signs. Our designs are extremely unique too in our workshop. Customers come in, everything is here for them to do. They create everything. They can be as hands-on as they want. They came in here to relax and have fun, and that they are proud of their project that they've made.
Ace in the Bowl salsa started many, many years ago. I was trying to find a recipe to take to a family gathering, and so I started messing around with different recipes, and I took a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and I came up with a salsa that is truly unique. Ace in the Bowl salsa is an olive oil-based salsa with tomatoes, green chilies, green onions, and black olives. There's no sugar added, it's gluten-free, low calorie, low carb, low fat, low sodium. So it's a very, very, very good alternative to any snack you may want. As of right now, I'm just looking to be in Oklahoma and having a successful business within the state. If my grandkids could ever take it over when they're old enough, that would be my dream.
We are back in the writers' room with Braden and Daniel to take a look at our last football game against the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. So first I'm going to start out with Braden. Maybe just give me a little bit of a rundown of the game, what you thought, what you saw, and just a summary of what you thought about the game.
Well, I guess obviously, it wasn't the most appealing matchup, Everyone kind of expected that coming in, kind of a game like that. But you got to see the starters out there in the first quarter. You got to see a little bit. But a lot of the storylines was just new faces, coming in, kind of get to see some of those younger guys, maybe down the road, some prospects. You had guys like Stephon Johnson Jr., come in.
Yes.
4 or 5 catches, a wide receiver reverse, kind of see some. It's kind of known the wide receiver unit's pretty deep, but you kind of see some of those guys come up. Who else? The offensive line kind of struggled in that first game against Central Michigan, Arizona State, Arkansas Pine Bluff. You kind of see them rebound a little bit. Yards per carry kind of comes up. But yeah, what do you think, Dia?
Obviously I think one of the bigger storylines is I think it was pretty visible that there were new defensive coordinator, new look defense, new schemes and everything. A lot of lost players from last year, so there were visible woes, and as expected in the first game against CMU. And then Arizona State, you saw the progression. Then Arkansas Pine Bluff, I know it's Arkansas Pine Bluff, but there were a lot less missed assignments. There's a lot better communication. Looks like the tackling was significantly better. And then obviously, like Braden said about the new faces, Oklahoma State in a lot of positions actually, outside of the defensive line and offensive line, really. I mean, they're pretty thin, to be honest.
Yeah.
So getting guys like Gunnar Gundy, Garrett Rangel, and some more running backs, obviously, and then some more secondary members and linebackers to get those young pieces in-game reps, which is pivotal for any sort of progression moving forward. To get those guys in-game reps, I think obviously with the tough schedule that Oklahoma State has moving forward, with how many of their 50-50 games are on the road. I think for Oklahoma State moving forward, getting those guys experience in-game reps and kind of feel what it's like to have that kind of atmosphere under their wing, I think that was pretty pivotal.
Yeah, and you talking about getting experience for those younger guys. Not only did we lose a lot of starters last year, but we lost a lot of our second men up. So I think going into that tough schedule that we have, that is so important for the rest of the season. So I don't know if you guys got to watch the halftime performance, but I love to bring this up because I love the band at halftime, right?
Right.
What did you guys think of the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff's band performance at halftime, if you got to see that?
Oh, yeah. It was great. It was a lot better than the game, honestly. I think everybody kind of hung around just to watch the halftime show, I think, I don't know, it was probably 8 or 10 years ago, Oklahoma State had Grambling A&M come in, and they had their band, kind of same type of deal, but that was really neat to kind of come in and see their tradition, because they're very tradition-rich in that aspect,
I didn't get to see much of it, but I caught a glimpse of it, and it was I can see why marching bands are so iconic at Arkansas Pine Bluff. Rich history, like Braden said, for their marching band. They put a lot of time and effort into it. I'm kind of upset I didn't get to see more than I did, but it was pleasing and satisfying to finally get to see it.
Yeah.
You hear so much about it. So.
Yeah, and then our band as well did so well at halftime. I loved seeing it. Their tribute to Elvis, I believe, and I love that. Have y'all seen the Elvis movie?
I have not.
See that?
I have. It's phenomenal.
So good. So that made me so happy because I stayed through that whole game just to make sure that I got to watch the band.
Right.
So how do you think the band tradition and different things like that affect the players on the field, or how does that affect the game for the fans?
I think that's more. I don't know how the players feel about it. I think the fans love it. They like to see, especially in non-conference. I think it's cool to see the university branch out and bring in some people like that. Even if it wasn't the best game or whatever, it was a cool opportunity to see someone like that come in, see some of their tradition.
Yeah, I'm with Braden. I don't know if it necessarily provides an on-field advantage for OSU or any home team, but certainly one of the more satisfying. That's why they call it halftime entertainment, right? It's one of the more satisfying parts of halftime. You get to see college bands, kind of perform what they've been practicing, all week for, and like Saturday, you see instances where it's spectacular. So.
Yeah.
Cowboy marching band does great, but that's a tough act to follow.
I know. I was thinking that the whole time. I was like, man, that was so good. I wonder how they're going to follow that. So with these next couple of weeks for the football team, away from Boone Pickens, of course, we've got one on the road game, and then we've got an off week. How do you think this win will carry over into those conference games, and of course, also being on the road?
Yeah, you talk to players this week, and there's kind of a mixed review about the bye week, where it falls. I think it was Jason Taylor kind of brought up a good point. He was like, we really start in the summer. We come in August for fall camp. So they're not really just 3 weeks in. They've played 3 games, but they're a lot longer than 3 weeks in. They've had 6, 7, 8 weeks of preseason preparation. So the bye week, they got 3 wins under their belt. They kind of got everybody in the rotation a little bit. So that helps a little bit. Baylor has a game this week. But I think the Cowboys feel good about where they're at right now. Spencer Sanders is clicking. The defensive line is obviously pretty stacked right now. But other than that, I think they feel pretty good going in.
I think to touch back on what I said, I think, getting those guys, because you don't know what's going to happen at any given point in football, especially in football, right? So getting those guys in game reps and experience was pivotal. But, at the same time, I don't think any of us expected the offense to be clicking we knew they were going to go up tempo. We talked to the coaches, we talked to the players. We knew they were going to try and go up tempo, get a return to what they did in the past. Obviously, last year they totally reshifted their offense because they had such a good defense.
Yeah.
Well, you lose those defensive pieces, new look defense, new scheme. They returned to that, traditional OSU offense, I guess you could say. And then I don't think any of us expected it to be clicking like it is, but moving forward, I think they get another week for preparation and obviously
awesome
moving forward, right?
Yeah. So that's all the time we have here for our show. But thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you guys go and check out their work on O'Colly.com. Check out the eColly and more O'Colly TV work as well. So I hope you guys join us next week for more guests in the writers' room.
So 4 years. Scratch is more focused on farm and mostly made in Oklahoma products, keeping it local. Sustainability is our biggest thing. That's one of the reasons why this place opened.
I've been the chef here at Scratch for 2.5 years. Started here as a line cook. Our food and drinks are a bit separate entities almost inside the restaurant. So the food is now up to 85% of the products we bring in are raised or grown locally. It's all based off of things that I grew up eating in southern Oklahoma, the things my grandparents ate.
Fresh food, clean food, organic food, sustainability, that's all of our thing. From front of house to back of house, we're able to maintain both with freshness. But made in Oklahoma means we get